Millions of tons of petrochemicals are in transit right now, crossing oceans and borders in a continuous heavy industrial loop. The precise value of that movement is calculated daily. Today, we are examining a specific snapshot of this global trade, the Feedstock Pricing Matrix for August 5, 2026. This market intelligence comes directly from Polymer Bazaar. At the foundation of their reporting is a three-part philosophy: price, prediction, and profit. Extracting actual profit from raw price data requires cutting through a wall of international trade jargon. A standard feed is a dense collision of Incoterms: free on board, cost insurance and freight, cost and freight, each representing a distinct allocation of shipping liability that determines the cargo's final landing price. Add to that the friction of regional currencies and volume metrics. The U.S. Gulf Coast trades in cents per pound. Europe operates in euros per metric ton. Asia relies on U.S. dollars per metric ton. Before a procurement manager can even begin to spot a market trend, they must mentally normalize these conflicting data points, converting pounds to tons and cents to euros just to establish a baseline. But on August 5th, the most striking feature of the global board is not a wild currency fluctuation. It is the sheer density of a single abbreviation, NC, no change. A static board presents a distinct challenge. When dozens of major chemical markers are locked in place, finding a margin of advantage becomes highly difficult. To locate the active friction hidden inside this static noise, we need to map this specific data feed geographically. Raw numbers on a screen offer little insight. Only by projecting them onto a spatial map can we see where regional pressures are actually building. The logical place to search for that pressure is at the base of the entire petrochemical value chain, naphtha. To find the primary pricing anchor for this foundational feedstock, we look directly at East Asia, specifically Japan. This map isolates the Japanese node. On August 5th, naphtha delivered to Japan cost exactly $770 per metric ton. And here is our first anomaly in an otherwise static feed. The price is marked with a sharp downward indicator of $15. While the rest of the global market is registering zero movement, Japan is experiencing an isolated pocket of immediate pricing relief. In theory, this triggers upstream softness. When the bedrock of the chain gets cheaper, it should cost less to manufacture every subsequent downstream plastic component. The immediate question is whether this localized $15 discount in Tokyo will instantly translate to cheaper manufacturing costs across the rest of Asia. It rarely happens immediately. Major manufacturers operate on 30, 60, or 90-day volume contracts, which intentionally insulate them from sudden daily price shocks. To see if the ripple effect from this naphtha drop has started moving through the market, we have to look one step higher up the chemical chain. A crack in the upstream foundation provides potential energy, but it requires time to actually break the pricing structures built directly on top of it. Moving up from naphtha, we reach the foundational olefins, ethylene and propylene, the essential building blocks for global manufacturing. Tracking these midstream chemicals requires zooming out to observe the three dominant pricing hubs simultaneously. We start in the European theater. The nodes for Northwest Europe lock in ethylene at €815 per metric ton and propylene at $1,055. Both of these foundational chemicals are accompanied by identical tags: no change. The European midstream market is entirely stagnant. Checking back in the Asian theater, we populate the nodes for China and Korea. Ethylene hovers between $965 and $1,005, while propylene sits just over $1,000. Despite the steep drop in Japanese naphtha happening right next door, the Asian olefin markets are frozen. This is market inertia at work. Gulf Coast. This node highlights our second anomaly. American propylene is explicitly marked down, trading at 41.85 cents per pound. While Europe and Asia are locked in a holding pattern, resisting the upstream pressure, the American market is actively falling. This structural imbalance gives U.S. producers a clear mathematical export advantage. For the next 30 days, American propylene is uniquely competitive on the water. Assuming the globe operates on a single parity price is a mistake. The actual opportunities lie in geographic friction between these static and fluid regions. We move to the final specialized layer of the feed, aromatics and polyester precursors. We are isolating the Chinese import market here to observe a precise phenomenon: how different branches of the chemical tree behave inside the exact same country on the exact same day. This split screen tracks the daily movement. On the left, styrene drops $10 to settle at $10.95 per metric ton. Styrene is behaving predictably. It is tracking the upstream softness that started with the Japanese naphtha drop, passing the discount down the chain. But on the right side of the chart, purified terephthalic acid, PTA, moves in the exact opposite direction, rising $10 to hit $8.90. This upward pressure on PTA stands in stark contrast. The base olefins are frozen, and its direct neighbor styrene is falling, yet PTA is becoming more expensive. We lock in the final component, monoethylene glycol, MEG, which sits dead neutral at $670. This divergence proves a critical rule in chemical economics. Localized immediate demand for a specific polyester precursor like PTA is powerful enough to completely override the downward supply pressure cascading from naphtha. Stepping back, we can now view the entire August 5th market state as a unified physical system. The board is organized by volatility. The inert midstream chemicals fade to neutral gray. The dropping upstream naphtha, styrene, and US propylene pulse red. The rising PTA pulses bright green. The board reveals a massive gray holding pattern of base chemicals, pinned between upstream relief and localized downstream demand. This visual map defines the geometry of arbitrage. It measures the exact physical distance and the contract time delay between a falling red node and a rising green node. Procurement managers calculate this geometry constantly. They time their multi-million-dollar bulk purchases to capture the margin before those red upstream ripples can successfully break the gray static nodes. Which brings us back to the core philosophy driving this intelligence feed. Price is simply the raw topography we just mapped, the current alignment of red, green, and gray nodes. Prediction is the applied math. It is calculating exactly how many days it will take for the localized naphtha drop in Japan to crack the oleakin inertia currently paralyzing Europe. Profit is the execution. It is locking in a favorable contract in that narrow window of time before the rest of the global market adjusts to the math. This daily feedstock feed serves as a geographic map, pinpointing exactly where margin will be captured tomorrow.